everyone, and welcome to Minor Incidents, episode 31, covering Major Crimes, season 3, episode 12, Party Foul. Well, I was wrong. It wasn't about ducks. We start out at this rich kid's party. He doesn't really matter in this, except that
Chip?
he's rich. His name's Chip. He's rich, and he's been
name.
caught for drugs several times in the past. His parents aren't home. They're at this, like, couples retreat somewhere else. Nobody
Palm
cares.
Springs.
Nobody cares. There ends up being this disagreement with him and this kid, Wesley, like, a couple hours before the events happen that end up happening. He goes to the garage to get more ice, and there's this guy who busts out, whose name's Toby, who has a gash in his neck and is bleeding profusely everywhere. And he ends up dying. And then Chip goes out into the garage more and finds this other girl on the ground whose name is Keisha, with scissors in her abdomen. What ends up conspiring is we were perplexed pretty much the entire episode of what the hell happened. And they didn't really get to it until like the very end. But what ended up happening was the guy Toby and Keisha had been together for like years, right? So the other kid, Wesley, who Chip was having the argument with, who was kind of obsessed with Keisha, but like not in a weird sense, but in a I love you sense, and this guy is not right for you sense.
Say sense again.
Sense. Keisha's grandmother and Provenza had been hanging out at the hospital for like hours and hours. Provenza like masquerades as a doctor in order to get this kid, which we end up finding out that her grandmother had emailed that Keisha was in the hospital, almost like to frame him. It was very bizarre. She still didn't even say she was sorry or anything, even at the end. But it was like she was framing him. He didn't do it. Chip didn't do it. It ended up being Keisha having like a breakdown because Toby had told her that he just wanted to be friends and he had met this other girl and that she should be with Wesley. And she's like, yeah, but you said we were gonna be together forever. So she killed him, and that was like Romeo and Juliet bullshit. That's
she
the
stabbed
fact.
him and then she stabbed herself.
On a personal front, Provenza and Keisha's grandma ended up going out on a date, shipping it. I love them together. They were working really well together. I mean, the grandmother, I was like, she's being a little shady, but she ended up pulling through, and I'm shipping it now. Patrice. Her name's Patrice. I remembered her name. It's Patrice.
The one person's name you remembered.
Rusty has a friend named Jeff from Badge of Justice, who he's working with. But Jeff is like 25. And Rusty is obviously 18. I think Sharon is a little hesitant on that fact. But then Jeff was telling Rusty to, like, hold off on college. And Sharon was like, oh now, buddy. No.
Slow your roll.
Slow your roll, home slice. Rusty ended up, like, going to this other lunch. And Sharon asked for Tal's help to tell the people Badge of Justice, like, back off. And Rusty ended up changing his mind that he would take the winter semester instead of waiting like a semester off.
Because he learned that you can still be friends with somebody and go to college. Be friends with someone you're working with and still go to college.
Mm-hmm. So what did we like about this episode?
I like the personal front of this episode. I mean, I like the crime front. Like, there was parts of it where I was just like, eh.
But the ending, but the whole crime in general had us stumped from the beginning.
Yeah, like, we had no idea. We were really trying to come up with all these, like, scenarios, like, what could have actually happened, but
we were wrong.
We were so wrong.
We were really wrong. I like Patrice and Louie. I like that. Because the last one we've seen with Provenza relationship-wise, one was his first ex-wife, Liz. And then he had that one girlfriend during an earlier season of The Closer that he was dressing up for. Does anybody remember that? Probably not. But
do you think we'll see more of Patrice?
I hope we do, because I really like them together. Because she can handle his ridiculousness. And she used to be married to a police officer.
A homicide detective.
Homicide detective from Long Beach. I'm hoping they continue with that relationship. Hobbs had some really hilarious lines this episode.
Oh my god.
She wasn't in it until the end. But when she was there, we were just laughing at every single line she said.
When she was like, it was something along the lines of, she needs to be surrounded by a lot of people in white coats. Done.
And we just start screaming Hobbs when we see her walk up.
We were like, Hobbs!
We're going, Hobbs! What did we not like about this episode?
The whole, like, grandmother framing Wesley, and as soon as Provenza tried to talk to Keisha the first time, she was like, Toby didn't make it, like, because she knew, like, as soon as she said that, the girl was gonna, like, freak out because I think she wanted that time to email Wesley.
Or
she knew that Wesley was kind of crazy. I don't think he was crazy.
He wasn't crazy. He just really, really loved her. He knew that the guy she was with was, like, no good for her. Kind of feel bad for him in that sense. Because he had a license plate that said no Romeo, and then he explained it. And I was like, oh. I also didn't like how... It wasn't necessarily that I didn't like it, but I wasn't crazy about how bizarre the case was. Like, the outcome of the case, and how we didn't find out about it until literally the very end of the episode.
After they convinced the girl that she was gonna die.
Yeah. And I didn't like that the reason why she did it was because she was crazy. I'm not fond of those kind of stories. Like, she should have some other reason.
I mean, she had a bad temper, and she was kind of crazy.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, though, like, you could have came up with something else. Right.
Ah! Some crazy girl!
She's crazy, and things happen!
And she saw some scissors that his mom uses to wrap gifts.
It just... I didn't like it. I wasn't fond of it. Then, like, Wesley had clubs in the back of his car, and that never even got solved. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They never even covered how they... Because he said he didn't remember, he didn't take them, but then they didn't find out who took them, but they were in the back of his car. None of it made any fucking sense whatsoever. What are we rating it?
I'm gonna give it an 8.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I wasn't crazy about this one.
I was crazy about it.
Part.
I was crazy about it up to a certain point. And I also liked when Ryder said, when they said it was a birthday bash, and what did she, it was like, basically she was like, literally, because I am a fan of corny things.
That she is. Yeah, like, I liked all the parts with Provenza, but other than that, I just wasn't crazy about this episode. And the parts with Ryder and Tao, because we don't get many of them, and there was that one scene with them together that I really enjoyed. Next week...
We didn't get to see the
previews. However, it's the episode Flynn's daughter comes around. Yeah, next week will be a little late, because somebody has to go to her Christmas party. It's not me. Major Crimes, episode 13 of season 3, entitled Acting Out.
Jesus Christ.
I think if it's not, I'm
so
pretty sure
excited.
It's not. Pretty sure it's not episode 13.
You're about to lose control, and you think you like it.
I'm just glad you got those words right. It's actually Tommy's old bird's name. I don't know if you ever knew that.
I didn't know he had an old bird.
Well, it's not Barbara, but start at the very beginning.
Toby,
very good
Wesley,
place to start.
Keisha.
Those are names of people in the show. So...
But she probably didn't remember.
Yeah, I did. Because Keisha rhymes with Alicia.
Cute.
Don't put on your grumpy cat face.
Let's start at the very beginning.
A very good place to start. I don't know the rest.
You begin with
a fart. It rhymes with start. I'm a little high right now.
Great!
Popped a Percocet.
When?
Before you got here.
Heather!
Okay, but it wasn't a Valium. Okay, I would have been sleeping if it was a Valium. Percocet, I'm awake. Not mentally, but physically. I warned everyone that I'd be high.
Did you? High. I missed that tweet.
You did miss that tweet.
Guys, this is what you were on that time when I encouraged you to buy all this shit on Amazon. And then
I don't have the money for this time.
You haven't gotten paid yet.
No. Well, I did this past Friday, but I spent it on Christmas gifts.
Louie.
Louie. Oh, no. We gotta go.
Okay.
I know you're hurt, but it's okay. Don't cry.
I knew you were gonna do that.
Just keep it inside. Learn how to hide your feelings.
What's that from?
Fly high and... It's a Melissa Manchester song, Shash. And proud, and if you should fall, remember you almost had it all. We're pretty much into this.